The key to finding good breakouts is to be well organized and have all your scans in place. Then during the day, it's just a matter of like running your scan and finding good breakouts. So let's start by looking at basically the 4% breakout, which again, for the benefit of everyone, somebody who's new, is basically a range expansion kind of a scan which looks for a stock which is up 4% on a higher volume, and the volume is at least 100,000. So that way you're looking at only liquid stocks. So here when you see this, the condition is true, and the reverse of that is when a stock is down 4% on a high volume. When that condition is true, you'll get this. So once I run this scan, I run this scan on universe of stock. Universe of stock is basically something which is a watch list which I have. This is a watch list. Okay. Now in this watch list, what I do is I put all the US stocks, like say copy all to universe. Then I put all the ETFs. So that way you're not repeating efforts of running separate scans. So it goes into universe, and all American depository receipts. So because the ADRs are foreign stocks or the stocks from other countries which are trading in US. So once this is there, that's the list which I use for scanning any of these scans. So that's where the universe is coming from. So once you run this scan, you're getting around 142 stocks, I think, today. So same way I run a bearish scan. If you run a bearish scan today, again the scan is run on universe, and it is basically reverse of the earlier bullish condition which we saw, and you're getting around 74 stock or something like that. And then I also use a lower threshold breakout, in the sense that 4% not a high price stock is not going to make that kind of a move. So that is why I use a dollar breakout basically, or a stock which is up 90 cents from its opening price. So you're basically looking for a stock which basically goes up 90 cents from its opening price. Similarly, on a bearish side, I'm looking for. So these are the 4 scans which find bulk of the ideas for me. So in order to do this in process terms, I'm just showing you the process terms. What I'm going to do, I have 2 watch lists, bearish watch list and a bullish working watch list, which is basically used for doing the working of this, and then the final list is put into a 3rd watch list. Okay. So first thing which I'll do is I will take the reason why I will put all these candidates from bullish 4% and dollar breakout is, like, you will see that many of these stocks are up 4%. They are also up more than $1. So you will have to repeat the effort. So instead of doing a repeat effort, all that you need to do is put it in one watch list. So I'm going to put this 2 in one watch list, bullish work. And similarly, I'm going to put the bearish one in one watch list. So copy all into bearish work, and copy the bearish into bearish work. So once you follow this kind of a process, you should be able to find the same stocks that I find very easily. Okay. So now you have in this particular case around 504 stocks which are up either $1 plus or 90 cents from its opening price, or they are up 4%, meeting the scan conditions. So in this, I look for setup conditions which I have detailed many times. Like, I look for a specific kind of conditions to be present for a good setup, and when you see that, that means like stock should be up. Say this will be an idea of a good setup, which didn't work, but like that was a very good setup because the stock was up, went sideways. There's a narrow range day before the breakout was on a high volume. That's the kind of setup which I look for. So in this, this is a stock which is pulled back because of the market pullback. It was going up before that, so this is bouncing back close near the high. Stock had high volume also on this breakout. If you see, like, the volume was high, so that's one possibility, or that's a possible buy idea. You have a lot of stocks, biotechnology stocks which are bouncing back, but you're looking for the best of the setup. This is a setup which is already, this is a better buy point here. It can still be a buy here, but I like the earlier setup buy point better. Now the stock is breaking out on earnings. I don't see the earnings as something which is like a really great, but like whatever reason the stock was up, but like something like that is not something which I'm going to be looking at buying. ICUI is up 2 days in a row. So let me go through this very quickly to see the kind of candidates which I look for, the good candidates which show up. Okay. Now Polaris Industries is one of them. Like say this is the earnings, and then from there it went sideways. It recovered from that and a small pullback during the market. When the market pulled back sharply, many stocks were down. It wasn't down much, and now breaking out again. So that's a nice setup. Okay, Medifast. There's some selling in this, like in a high volume this thing, but like it's a decent setup, and you'll see that it has a very low float, 9.2 million float. So see now this is another stock which is like Zoma, which is 5.9 million float. Stock went sideways, breaking out, close near the high, volume is high. The day before the breakout it was like just up 0.41%. So that's the kind of breakout which I look for. See many of these like the ETFs, that's also a nice breakout for the ETF, this velocity ETFs, the not the velocity but the what do you call, the VIX ETFs. Okay, same way with this XIV, that's also like the same. Caterpillar, this is a possible setup. Like say here earnings got sideways for a long period of time, it was going up, pulled back a little bit, and then again reasserting itself. A little bit very choppy sideways move, so it is choppy, so that's why I'm a little bit skeptical about breakout like this, because it's too choppy, but it can still work. Okay, and remember all these analysis, like you have to do it during the day, like, and I have loaded multiple videos on the member site today to show you how this is done real time, but you can still find candidates for entry after hours. When you once you look at this, next day you can enter some of the breakouts. Okay, because if it is a genuine breakout with high volume, and if it is going to have a follow through, it is going to have follow through respectively. This is like a earnings breakout, 133% EPS growth rate, 25% sales growth rate. I think that's like you can. I'm just reconfirming that those figures. For that I used 133% EPS growth rate, 25% sales growth rate. Okay, that's like because of this volatile action, I would rather wait for it to set up, unless you got in early today based on pre-market gap up. I wouldn't really chase it here. None of these meet my setup conditions. The one which I didn't select. Now NSC, this is interesting breakout. Like say stock is breaking out to all-time high here, like, and I had a small breakout. This is more like a continuation kind of a setup. Trend intensity is also going above 105, so can be considered for a swing trade. We are looking for swing trade now. Something like this, like it faded. See, it faded. So that's not something which I am very keen on. You want stock which close near the high, because that tells you that the buyers were very really aggressive till the end of the day. Love, Southwest Airline, again, like see, this is like, and I just gained trend intensity. There was a big breakout here, 2-3 days of pullback, and then stock is again breaking out. That's a good setup. See, I do this multiple times during the day, so for me, like, and I can go at a very rapid speed. It would take me 7-8 minutes to do this entire thing if I was not talking while doing this. So for the best result, you have to do this during the day, because that's when you can find candidates, especially in the first half an hour, 1 hour. You can find very good candidates which can make further progress during the day, as you will see some of the candidates which I highlighted during the day when I did this. Now this is also a very good setup. See here, like an SSR stock was up, very orderly sideways moves. Volume wasn't really high, that's the one negative, and this was like, and I would have liked a higher volume, but that is a nice setup. This is also a nice dollar breakout setup, like say, now this is a dollar breakout, so its stock is up only, but like it's up more than $1. It was from its opening price, it was up $1.55. These kind of dollar breakouts can give you lower risk entries into moves which can be $5 to $10, sometimes even more, 40, 50. Now this is an example of a very good breakout, like which I saw very early, like, and it was apparent very early, and from there it went on to make further progress. Like I had this in the first video I posted today morning, I highlighted this as one of the things, and later also I highlighted it on Twitter also. But like after that also, still it made like a lot more move. And see, look at all these things, like where this is the big breakout on some sort of a catalyst, went sideways, orderly manner, not much of a selling. See, volume is not there today. Volume came in and stock closed near the high. That's a good sign. Okay. See, a lot of airlines were up today. This Delta airline also, this can still work. Like this is a large stock, float is 734 million, so it may not be a fast moving stock, but that's not a bad setup. There was another airline there, AL, which I didn't really select, but Sell Point Technology, this is an IPO, recent IPO. See, that looks nice as a setup for an IPO. This as a pullback setup is nice, like so there must be some earnings or something, and then pull back and close near the high. Volume was relatively high, means like, and it wasn't really very high. So this is a gap up from a sideways base. Volume is very high, so I think that might work. But something like this I always like, if I entered them early in the morning because it's already up 39%. So but sometimes like especially this is a biotechnology stock, 16.4 million, they can still have follow through, and they can have significant follow through. So see, if you follow the 4% and dollar breakout scans, you will find that every stock which makes a big move will show up in your scans at multiple points by points. So it's a question of like, this is something which I highlighted uh, on the member site. The stock has a float of 4.6 million, is breaking out on high volume, very orderly. Again, biotechnology, last time like it had a breakout like this, it made a 30% or 28% move. Here another breakout, and it made around 20% move. So this is a nice breakout. And also always look for stock which has very low floats, like especially floats below 10 million. Those are stocks which if they take off, they can take off big, kind of a thing. Again, it's up 3 days in a row, so and it was a 4% breakout here also. So that was a better buy point than this. So sometimes like in the IPOs, these kind of things also work as a setup. Like the IPO comes in and it goes down and then like it reverses. So I would say that this is a setup which is likely to work, or high probability setup for an IPO kind of a stock. Okay. Now a lot of these stocks, they were down, people shorted. Like this is a counter trend bounce which happens. This is very common in stocks, like when they break down, they don't go straight. Like this looked like a good breakout intraday, now it faded. Otherwise, like it could have been a good breakout. Again, thematically, biotechnology stocks, they are the one which are attracting buy interest today. As we go down, like now it becomes like really like lower price stock. Many of these may be very low priced. I will look at a setup which is low priced also if it is a good setup, but generally like I prefer buying higher price stock because of the size of the number of shares which I buy and the size of the account which I trade basically. So, but if you have a smaller account, there is absolutely no harm in focusing on the lower price stock because they tend to make big moves. So these are all like up 6 and 7 cents and all. So obviously I don't really spend time going on anything which is not up, say 25 cents kind of a thing. But I'm just going through them now for benefit of people. See, mostly like and then some of these are like gap ups. Basically, like this stock intraday at some stage in the morning, it looked very nice as a breakout. Now it faded. It ended up giving up all the gains. Lululemon, Alog, Sage. So out of these 504 stocks, what you have is you have possibilities. Why? This is a good breakout. Basically, this is sector leader by the IBD kind of a thing. Earnings are good. So if you're an IBD kind of stock, this is a nice play. Polaris Industries, it's also like recent earnings was good, it beat earnings, so that is like nice play. Med, low float, good. Zoma, little bit like too volatile, but like float is small. Biotechnology sector was doing well. If you are into these VIX kind of things, then this is breaking out here. XIV CAT, this is a large cap, doesn't move, like float is 588, doesn't move at a very rapid rate, but just one of the things I highlighted, something like this is too volatile for my taste because it hasn't followed through a number of breakouts here, so I wouldn't really like be very keen on something like that. NSC, it's a continuation kind of a scheme because again float is 279 million. This looks nice to me. This float is large, but this looks very nice because see here, very powerful breakout and then just 2 days of pullback and then it is reasserting itself bold. Obviously, it's a biotechnology. Float is of 12 million. Looks very nice, orderly, so that's good. This is also a very nice setup. This is the best setup because the volume is high. close near the high, and it has a big catalyst here, some sort of a catalyst. So stock can like go to 21, 22 if it gets going, or even double or triple. If it is biotechnology, anything can happen. DAL, which is similar to that low. Sale, which is a IPO kind of a stock, so that's a good breakout for an IPO kind of a stock. Match, then you have MRNS, EIGR, which is again something which I highlighted during the day itself, and JT, which is another IPO. So you will get enough, like more than enough candidates on most days, more than what you can like really do justice to. So copy flagged into momentum burst, and then here is the next stage where you can like some of these like you can play only as a swing trade depending on how you're looking at a time frame of 3 to 5 days. Some of these might be longer term plays. Now this is where if you are going to hold something for a longer term, then you need to have some sort of a reason or some sort of a catalyst or some sort of stock selection methodology to select them based on some sort of criteria, like say earnings or growth or valuation, whatever might be the criteria, and then you can decide, okay, this is a stock which I think is going to go longer term, I'm going to hold it for a couple of months, versus something which might be just a short term swing trading kind of a setup. But all the moves will show up in your scan. That's really the thing. So you have like say 19 ideas to play around with, and many of these can be entered next day also. I don't see any problem entering some of these kind of ideas next day. Obviously the best entries, or the people who have the best entries, will be one who run the scan very early in the morning, and also those who do anticipation, because some of these were anticipation setups, so you would have gotten based on anticipation setup and not waited for the breakout to be completely complete to enter, but like you still have opportunities to enter next day. So this is on the bullish side. Let's have the bearish side. The bearish side, there is 146 stocks on the bearish side. Again, let's start with something which is down a lot and then go down from there. Now AGX, so one of the things which happens is like the stock was up for some, and then it just went sideways. Now it's breaking down on high volume. Volume is very high also here, like float is 14.4 million, 2.4 million shares were traded. Most of the time when you get a drop like this, many times what happens is there is a counter trend bounce, and it will keep going sideways or bouncing for a couple of weeks, sometimes months, and then again it can like drop. So it's always a little bit tricky to short just a big drop like that. This is just like the stock was up a lot yesterday, and then like now again like if you see this stock would have shown a 4% scan here. It would have been in your dollar breakout scan. It would not have been in dollar breakout scan because the liquidity was low. It was only 90,000 shares traded. But here it would have it would have been if it was the liquidity condition was different, but like it showed up in your 4% scan. So you can find, the moral of the story is you can find this kind of stocks on your own once you set up everything. The first thing which you need to do is to set up for scanning, no matter what kind of scan you use. I'm not saying use my scans, but any scanning. So like a lot of people email me, write to me after reading the blog or something like that. I want to get into trading, or I want I'm not happy with. So the first thing which I always tell them is get a software and start developing scans and developing a process, because if you don't have that, random selection of stocks is not going to help you. You have to systematically look at same thing again and again every day, similar scans. So let's go through this quickly and look at this Hooker Furniture, 8.3 million dropping. It's not like trend is not really established to the downside, so I wouldn't really go and short something like that. Something like this might have a follow through to the downside because stock was going up, but again not a high probability kind of a setup. So you have to find either a stock which is basically very way extended, or something which is already weak and which has a follow through. Like here, this was a good breakdown setup. It would have been in your dollar breakdown scan at that particular time, or here also, like basically Kimberly Clark. Now this is a maybe kind of a setup. It might have a follow through because a lot of stocks in that same sector, household personal products or consumer discretionary defensive sector, they are down today. As you saw, I think Pepsi or something of there was down also. So that might be, see here, Pepsi was down also. So that might be maybe kind of a setup. Don't find anything. You see, this is I think earnings miss kind of a play here. This is like an 8 missed earnings here, or like a high expectation and then like didn't really match up and it went down to it. So here this has a potential. This is something I would put it in a watch list. Many times like you get a counter trend bounce immediately, so that's the always the tricky part of shorting. Today was a up day, like, and as you saw, significantly 146 stocks were down, but like 500 plus stocks were up. So you may not find too many good candidates today on the short side. So something like this, which was a way extended, this has high probability that it will have at least some follow through. The stock might correct at least another 10%, I think, possible. Now this is a continuation kind of a short, like in a big drop, counter trend bounce. Now if it continues, but the volume was very low, so see again all the sector stocks like Kimberly Clark is also in the same sector. This was like they were down. So sometimes you get a sector move, and as I said before, like when looking at longs, I'm not really looking at sectors, because if it has a trend intensity, then that itself is more than enough. But for shorts, looking at sectors, looking at some sort of a catalyst is helpful, because many times like the market might be going up, but one particular sector is going down, and then if you select the stock in that sector, then it helps in terms of shorting. Now all these are like a very low priced shorts, so I'm not going to be really spending time on these kind of shorts. But if you have a smaller account, you can always look at many of these ideas. These are like a really down few cents kind of ideas. Why not eliminate this from the scans? I do eliminate like from some of the scans which I use for my personal trading. I just show everything because there are different sets of people. Some because of their account size or whatever their preference is, they like to trade these lower price stocks. So you have one possible idea, I think, and probably I must have flagged one or two, Duluth and VRS. So these are the two. You can put it into this. So here, once you've done this analysis, you have a lot of ideas to play around with, whether looking for longs. Like there are a lot of ideas to look around, and some of these you might be already in if you're like looking at these during the intraday, and if you had found them earlier. So these are like basically all the things which you can find using dollar breakout and 4%. And that's not the only thing which I trade. I also trade like the anticipation. So some of these stocks will be in anticipation list even before the breakout itself, and low threshold breakout. So a lot more ideas you can find to trade once you set up everything. So my thing will be like, and I go through the videos which I made intraday right from the beginning of the morning. I made like, and I think 4 or 5 videos today I posted, and if you go through that, you'll see that like how process terms you can run these scans intraday right from like 9:30 onwards, and as ideas start showing up, then you start focusing on them. You buy, say like this stock I had highlighted in the first video which I did in the morning itself, right? And then from there the stock further went, like I think in the first video when I highlighted it, it was up 7%, and by the end of the day the stock is up 13.47%. So it's like if you bought it at that level, it's still up 6 or 7% from that entry point. And many of these other stocks were also in the first video, like YY was another stock which I'd said like that time it was up only like say around $4 or $5. After that it went up $3 or $4. So you will find ideas by setting up this yourself and doing things. That's very important, because you have to have these set up for yourself, the software in place, the scans in place, and what to look for in a setup. And then it's just running the scan and finding candidates in the morning and entering as soon as you find a good candidate, and putting in stops at the low of the day, like stop for this particular, say like if you entered it, like the stop was at 15 because that was the low of the day. So once you do that, you will never run out of ideas on both long and short side to find, depending on the market conditions. If there is a lot of selling, you'll find a lot many short candidates. There's a lot of buying, you'll find long candidates.